Okay, in the previous video, I forgot to set this to Markdown. So let's fix that and re-execute it. And then sometimes you'll get data in a format that isn't easily handled by any of the built-in read methods in pandas. But you can always make your own data frame by calling the DataFrame constructor and passing in the data in one of a couple of different fairly convenient formats. So let's look at the fallback position in case there isn't a built-in read function for the data that you want to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new cell, and we'll put in a line of Markdown, and we'll call this building a data frame, and this time I'm actually going to spell it the way pandas does, with the DataFrame Constructor. And then let's execute that and make a new cell. So the first format, let me make some data. So let's say I have an index, which is going to be a list of values, and we'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let's do a value, which is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then value squared is 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. And then let's do square root of value. And I think I need to import that from math. So from math import square root. And this time, instead of just typing the values out, I'm going to use something called a list comprehension. And so I'm going to say the square root of x for x in value. So what this is going to do is it's going to loop over the items in value one at a time. And for each item, it's going to store that item in x. And then it's going to calculate the square root of x. And then that whole thing is going to be put into an array. So let's go ahead and execute this so far. And let me print the square root of value so that you can see what it looks like. So it's just a list of values. And I could have done the same thing here with value squared. So this is going to be x times x for x in value. And then value could be x plus 1 for x in index. And then, and I'm not going to print anything, but I'll execute this. So here's some arrays, and then I'm going to want to build a data frame out of it. So let's go ahead and do that. So the pandas constructor for data frames, let's call that data frame is equal to pd.dataframe. And then the first format that I'm going to show you is to specify a dictionary where the key is the name of a column and the value is a list of values for each row. So I can specify a data frame like so by going, so value, let's call that value colon the value array. And then it's going to be value squared colon the value squared array, and then square root of value is going to be the square root of value. And then optionally, well, I'm not going to do it because it's optional. So I'm going to let it automatically generate an index for this, and then we'll see what it looks like. So it automatically generated an index, so it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's a column for value squared, and a column for square root value. So that's a pretty easy way to specify that. Let's go ahead and make another one. I still have my value set up from before, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do the same exact thing here, except I'm also going to specify an index parameter. And then let's do a list of like 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. So I'm going to use just some oddball values for my index. And you'll see the columns are exactly the same, but now the index is what I specified. So you have control over the index as well. So that one's pretty easy. And then the next alternative is to take the slices across this way. So for each row, first row I have 1, 1, 1, second row I have 2, 4, 1.4, third row, and so on. So let's make a list of the rows, and that's going to be basically a two-dimensional array. So we'll call that array 2 is equal to, and then I'm going to use a list comprehension here. And then first value is going to be, let's see, value sub x. And actually, I want to put all of this in a list. So I'm making a list of values. And then second value is going to be value squared sub x. And the third value is going to be square root of value sub x. So this thing here, that's a row. And then I want a list of rows. So that's going to be 4x in index. So index goes 0, 1, 2, and so on. So let's go ahead and execute that and then look at the array like so. So here's my first row, there's my second row, and so on. So now, if I just pass this into the DataFrame constructor, it's not going to give me what I want. So, but it's almost there. So let's call it and see what we get. And it gave me a data frame, and I have the right values in the cells, and it even auto-generated an index. But what it's using for columns is not right. So I haven't given it, it has no way of taking this array of rows and figuring out what the name of the column should be for each one. So if I want that to work, I have to specify an additional parameter, like so. And I think it's called columns. And then I give it array of names, so, or list of names. So the first thing is value. And the second thing is value squared. And the third thing is square root of value. And if I execute it now, I get the proper column names. And then optionally, if I want to set the index, I can do that as well. So I can say, same index as I used before. And that's optional as well. And there we are. So it's pretty easy if you can read the data in from anywhere and then massage it into the right format. It's pretty easy to create a data frame directly, even if there isn't a built-in read function supported in pandas.